Thank you for following the M.A.R.S blog series on the EPA amalgam separator regulation. You may have already read the first 4 blogs of this series: Introduction to the EPA Amalgam Separator Compliance blog series, Why Dental Practices Require Amalgam Separators, Who will be regulating and implementing the amalgam separator regulation, and when dental practices are expected to comply. The 5th blog of this series will be discussing what will be expected from dental practices when they are asked to act by their local control group's best management practices. As you may have read in the Who portion of our blog, it is the responsibility of the local control groups to create, implement, and regulate BMPs for dental practices. Each local control group expectations and standards can be different, as each local control group have different criteria to meet. What is known for sure is the EPA regulation is a starting point, or bare minimum requirements set by the EPA. It is entirely up to your local control group to decide to supersede the EPA regulation or to follow these EPA set standards or set conditions. Many control groups find the EPA regulation to be inadequate, which would mean they would most likely opt to create higher standards in their BMPs. Many of these control groups are looking to include a capture of soluble mercury, as mentioned in our Why blog of this series. It is a known issue for water treatment plants. The EPA requirement flowchart released by the Ohio EPA will give the dental professionals an easy layout of what is expected by the EPA regulation. You can see in the flowchart for the requirements of the EPA regulation, along with a quick explanation for each requirement. As M.A.R.S followers would have read in our blog, EPA Amalgam Separator Regulations, Circulating Misinformation about Amalgam Separator Requirements, Part 2, change annually. Some amalgam separator manufacturers have been confusing the dental industry with the wrong information about the required maintenance of amalgam separators. Some dental professionals may have heard the EPA regulation requires amalgam separators to be changed annually. This is untrue. Amalgam separators are required by the EPA regulation to be maintained to manufacturer specifications. In addition to the rule on maintenance, if your amalgam separator requires weekly inspections, like filter-based amalgam separators, it may be mandatory to keep weekly logs of the examination on record for up to 3 years. This extra required maintenance will need further training requirements and add another task to dental staff's already hectic workload. If your local control group requires logs on maintenance and inspection, you may want to consider a no-maintenance amalgam separator like the M.A.R.S Liberty Boss. Soluble mercury is one of the largest concerns for water treatment plants, as they currently lack the technology to capture soluble mercury. There are only limited options for those water treatment plants who cannot meet their discharge limits set by the EPA. As mentioned in the Why segment of this blog series, the best available solution for local control groups is to capture the total mercury, solid and soluble, at the source, which are at dental practices. Unfortunately, for local control groups and dental practices, most ISO amalgam separators cannot capture soluble mercury. ISO 11143-2008 is an outdated testing standard for amalgam separator, as it only tests for solid mercury in non-clinical applications. In a study completed by the Royal College of Dental Surgeons of Ontario, or the RCDSO, they had found that most amalgam separators cannot meet city standards as they do not capture their advertised ISO separation percentages. Only when ISO amalgam separators are tested at the EPA standard 245.7 do the actual efficiencies or inefficiencies of the amalgam separator are found. During an Ohio-based independent study done by Purvis Environmental, it was concluded a visual examination of the water from each of the separators demonstrated that the discharge of the water was cloudy with particulate. The difference in total to dissolved mercury content strongly demonstrates that not only do separators not remove all mercury, but a significant quantity of dissolved mercury is discharged into the environment. Under the proposed EPA guidelines for separators, the problem of mercury entering the environment will not be solved. The separator in Office 7, this is referring to the M.A.R.S Liberty Boss, is the only unit that is capable of removing both solid and dissolved mercury from the environment. The design provides the highest removal rate under normal operating parameters and treats both the total and dissolved mercury. The purpose study shows that most ISO amalgam separators will create and release more soluble mercury than they capture. According to this independent study, if a control group requires soluble mercury, the only amalgam separator is considered to be best available technology is the M.A.R.S. Liberty Boss. To learn more about how to ensure compliance with the EPA regulation and your local control groups, please see the last 2 segments of our blog series. These last sections will be discussing how to guarantee compliance.